Hey there, parents, and welcome. So, your student is heading into the 8th grade, and you're probably wondering exactly what is on the horizon for them this year in social studies. Well, you are definitely in the right place. In this explainer, we're going to pop the hood and look right at the curriculum. 8th grade is such a pivotal year, isn't it? They're transitioning from middle school thinkers into young adults getting ready for high school. And the curriculum they'll be tackling is specifically designed to stretch their minds, challenge their perspectives, and build some incredible critical thinking skills. So sit back, relax, and let's walk through this journey together.
All right, let's dive right in. What we're looking at is the official BCSD 26-27 8th grade curriculum guide. Now, I know official district documents like this can sometimes look like they're written in another language, just filled with academic jargon and state standards. But our goal today is to completely demystify this guide for you. We're going to unpack exactly what these pages mean for your child's day-to-day experience in the classroom. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have a clear, straightforward understanding of what your 8th grader is learning, why they are learning it, and how you can support them at home.
Here is our quick game plan for today. First, the South Carolina journey. Second, a year at a glance. Third, thinking like a historian. And finally, tools for the classroom.
Starting things off with Section 1, the South Carolina journey, exploring our state's story.
This right here is the big picture. It's the foundational theme that's going to guide your students' learning from day one all the way to the end of the year. The core description of this course is beautifully simple, exploring the story of South Carolina within the broader context of United States history. Now, I really want to emphasize this right off the bat, because a common misconception is that an 8th grade state history class is just about memorizing local trivia, state birds, county maps, that sort of thing. That is absolutely not the case here. Your student's going to be looking at the massive, sweeping narrative of the entire United States, literally from early colonization all the way through the modern era. But they'll be viewing that giant national story through a localized South Carolina lens.
It's a two-way street, really. We're constantly comparing the local impact against the national context. The curriculum specifically tasks students with investigating how South Carolinians have shaped and been shaped by the political, economic, cultural, and social developments of the U.S. By zooming in on their home state, those massive historical shifts become so much more tangible and real for your student. It kind of makes history personal.
All right, moving on to Section 2, a year at a glance. Let's map out this 8th grade roadmap.
Okay, I know. This official district pacing guide chart can look a little bit overwhelming at first glance. You've got different grades, color codes, a bunch of unit blocks squeezed into different quarters, but hey, don't panic. You absolutely do not need to memorize this chart. I just want to show you the structural backbone the teachers are actually using. That 8th grade year at the bottom in purple is neatly organized into 4 distinct quarters, which cover 1 introductory unit and 10 core historical units. Let's break this whole thing down into a much more digestible narrative for you.
So here is exactly how your child's year is going to flow chronologically. In quarter 1, which runs for 42 days, they kick off with Unit 0, spending 5 days purely on historical thinking skills. Then they dive into Unit 1, Settlement, for 14 days, followed by Unit 2, Development, for 20 days. That really sets the stage of early America. Then, as we move into quarter 2, which is 43 days, the heat turns up. We spend 23 days on the Revolution and 20 days on Foundation, really looking at how the state and the nation were built. After the winter break, quarter 3 is another 43 days covering some of the absolute most intense periods of our history. 15 days on compromise, 15 days on conflict, and 12 days on Reconstruction. Finally, in the longest stretch, quarter 4 spans 52 days and brings us right into the modern era. Students will spend 20 days on progressivism, another 20 on economics and global politics, and wrap up the whole shebang with 12 days on a unit simply titled Progress. It is an incredibly seamless, logical flow from the earliest settlements directly into the modern world they live in today.
Okay, Section 3, thinking like a historian. This is all about building critical skills, or what I like to call the why.
Remember that Unit 0 we just talked about at the start of the year? Well, this is what that's all about. Historical thinking skills. To translate that ed speak for a second, this basically means we aren't just teaching your 8th grader to memorize when a battle happened, but to truly analyze it. They're going to be looking at causation, like why did this happen? They'll examine continuity and change, what stayed the same and what shifted drastically. They'll look at historical context, and absolutely crucial here, they'll learn to evaluate evidence. These are the analytical tools your student will use all year long. Honestly, these aren't just history skills, they're critical life skills that teach them how to process information logically and thoughtfully.
Now, what's really interesting here is how these 4 official course objectives actually build on one another. The first objective is foundational, understand the state's development in relation to major U.S. themes. The second takes it a step further, use those historical thinking skills we just talked about to actually analyze events. The third gets them actively participating. They have to develop informed arguments using different types of sources. And finally, the ultimate goal of the entire course, demonstrating civic awareness and engagement. The curriculum is perfectly structured to take a student from just understanding basic facts all the way to becoming an engaged, aware citizen.
I actually want to pause and highlight that third objective specifically. Using evidence to develop informed historical arguments. Guys, this is a massive leap in maturity for an 8th grader. Your student is going to be tasked with actively looking at diverse perspectives. They won't just be spoon-fed a single narrative. Instead, they'll be handed primary sources, actual letters, documents, and speeches from the time periods, alongside secondary sources, and asked to draw their own connections. They're going to learn to look at the past, related to present events, and form their very own evidence-backed arguments. How cool is that?
Which brings us to our final section. Section 4, Tools for the Classroom, Equipping Your Student for Success.
So, you know the timeline, you know the skills they're building, but what physical and digital resources are they actually using to make all this happen? First up is the main anchor for the course. This is the officially adopted textbook for 8th grade, published by Gibbs Smith, called The South Carolina Journey 2nd Edition. You'll definitely want to keep an eye out for this cover when your student pulls their materials out to study at the kitchen table. This text will serve as their reliable home base, lining up perfectly with that chronological pacing guide we went over earlier.
But listen, the textbook is really just the jumping-off point. The district has put together this incredibly robust, dynamic learning environment using an excellent list of supplemental resources. For primary sources, students will have access to the South Carolina Digital Library, the Library of Congress primary source sets, and docsteach.org. For media and civics connections, teachers can pull from PBS SCE-TV resources like Carolina Stories, the Gilder Lehrman Institute, and the fantastic iCivics platform to really hit that civic engagement goal we discussed. And for supplemental reading, there's even a young reader's edition of Walter Edgar's renowned South Carolina history. It's literally a multimedia toolkit designed to appeal to all kinds of learners.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to leave you with one final, provocative thought to chew on throughout the school year. How will your student connect the past to their present? With this incredible curriculum, pacing, and diverse set of resources, your 8th grader isn't just going to learn what happened hundreds of years ago. They are going to learn why the world around them looks the way it does right now. They're going to gain the civic awareness necessary to step up as the next generation of thinkers and leaders. It's going to be a fantastic year of growth, and I really hope you feel fully equipped to support them on this South Carolina journey. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today to explore this curriculum.